think it was at CES earlier this year, this like really I feel like we all saw this, like this really incredible like small robot, furry robot that you put on your bag and like it looks around and like it's adorable. And like I would get that. And like that is not even out yet. So like this is like to the point of little tree culture, like it seems like a trend within the trend, the Labubu, in that the like the purse charm and the keychain is going to continue, but like the Labubu is going to get left behind.
Is it like Rizbot for your bag? Does
No,
it talk to you?
it's much
And
cuter than
okay.
Rizbot. It's actually furry. It looks like a small yeti, and it has these adorable little eyes. And it like looks. It's very like shy. It pretends to look away. Like it's so cute.
All right. Tip replacement number 26. Welcome to my closet. Just JK, guys. For those who aren't watching, it is Fashion Market Week here in New York, and so I have been reallocated to a closet space to do this recording. Apologies for those who are fans of my normal background. We're joined by Kristen and Sarah from Best Trends Forever, but please explain further than
Yes.
that.
Okay, so this is technically a sequel episode because if you recall,
The
people who
first
listen
ever
to every
sequel.
episode, which is first ever sequel, yes. Second dual guest, I believe. Doesn't matter. Either way, episode 20, we had Kristen Simon with us. But Sarah, her other half, could not make it, and Ben, my other half, could not make it. So we had a very special episode. So this is the sort of sequel where we have Kristen and Sarah of Best Trends Forever, which is a fabulous sort of trend newsletter on Substack. Kristen does content marketing, a lot of other fun things as well. Sarah is the content marketing manager at CEO Bigelow and also has worked in trend forecasting and all that sort of space as well. They're really sort of fun, younger, not necessarily younger, but like what's happening on the internet with an eye towards younger people and, for lack of better words, girl world, I would say in a lot of ways. It's all sort of like fun, great things. Thanks y'all for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, we this is the real first episode with
The
all of
the
us.
real the proper,
Yes.
yeah, the proper thing. Well, I love the fact, by the way, Sarah, that you're at CO Bigelow, right, which is America's longest continuously operating apothecary, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yes, you.
and so
My job to share that.
yeah, well, so the idea being that like we're really there's true generational exchange in this episode because we're not only like talking Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, but we're also getting all the way back to what the 1840s or something like that, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I spend so much of my day to day thinking about how can I connect the early 1800s to consumers today in a way that is exciting. And it's the thing that keeps me up at night because marketing and maintaining that heritage, it's not an easy task.
No, I wouldn't imagine. Well, anyway, we also love a dyed in the wool New York brand around here. I'm very much New York on this side. Well, nice to meet you guys. I have to say that one of the byproducts of it being Fashion Week, other than me recording this from a closet, is that I've been out. It's been a very active week. I've been social. I've been out. I've been seeing people, and I ran into a generational conundrum that I want to run past you guys as the starting point. So I went on Saturday night to the 5-year anniversary party for Perfectly Imperfect, the newsletter business that Tyler Bainbridge and his friend Alex started, and that is now kind of building into a burgeoning media company and social media company. And it highlight or it headline it was headlined by Fake Mink, the UK based rapper and let's call it underground music sensation, as well as it had a performance by a rapper named Tovi. It had Anna Pura playing, and then the DJ was Brooke Flecka, who my daughter informed me was that TikTok DJ. Um, Let me just say, being in that room at 50, I was the oldest person in the room by at least 10 years, because I think the Cobra Snake is only about 40. And then Mark was, 10 years older than the next youngest person. Um, Fake Mink was awful. Just like
Wow.
it was hard for me to understand. Like I was hard for me to understand what the fuck was going on. And what I guess I'm getting at is, am I so chopped and unk, as I'm now told the kids are saying, that this is now a new musical language, or is there something else happening? And I ask through the lens of the VMAs, which happened last week, which I know you guys have been thinking about, and also just generally like the constant search for relevance. Any thoughts there?
Person, you got
I will
anything?
say really quickly,
Please.
I don't know who fake Mink is. So
Same.
Oh,
this is also new to
Kyle,
me.
you got to get up on the Face newsletter, man. The Face newsletter has it all.
I
The
mean,
face.
I'm deep in face world, but like that is just it has not crossed my desk in a way that has grabbed me. I will say that Sarah, Kristen, sounds like you also are don't know as well.
I was just gonna say, go, Sarah.
Was this a fashion week event or was it a music event?
Well, it's a music it's an anniversary party for a newsletter media company during Fashion Week, highlighting music. It was also co-presented by Grail, the resale platform.
Yeah.
Fashion Week's not what it used to be.
I'm like,
We used to go to a bunch of Fashion Week stuff. I don't know
yeah.
about.
I mean, 10, 20 years ago, Fashion Week was one location. It was like super
Right.
exclusive, the top editors, the top fashion buyers. And, I think we've kind of talked about this a little bit internally, but like TikTok has kind of blown all of that up. And so, why go to Fashion Week when you can see it on your phone screen or some of these shows? And so it's like the accessibility of this stuff is like more than it's ever been. And so I think because of that, it's a little less exclusive. It's a little less like,
Special.
Yeah, it's funny. So the room, I have to say, like, credit where credit's due. The room was full of incredibly cool, incredibly young kids who were wearing what I would describe as like everything on earth. Uh, there was no discernible trend within them. Like
It's nice.
there was a kid who had on, I would imagine he had on like every piece of clothing that he owned. It was absolutely insane, the number of layers. And guy, he had a giant backpack that was covered with carabiners, and his hair was like, it was bananas. It was
That's
a
awesome.
very interesting spectacle. It but it just made me wonder like where the center was, and whether that cohort even has a sort of stylistic or intellectual center yet, or whether it's all being sort of figured out on the fly.
I was going to say I feel like the center in a lot of ways, which is simultaneously cohesive and very sort of porous, is perfectly imperfect. Because like they did a
Interesting.
bunch of like programming around that time. Like we had a sort of like Barcelona meetup the day before, and there were a bunch in other international cities. And like what was interesting about that was sort of like who that sort of attracted and who was on it versus who wasn't. And like, and Barcelona is a smaller city, way smaller than LA, way smaller than New York. So like you can sort of see the overlap in those things. And the people who were sort of represented by that sort of perfectly imperfect community were people who were sort of like, this sort of, to your point, Ben, cool people who, or interesting people who are maybe sort of looking for a home. And like there were some
Mm,
people who like went to this event. Like the New York one is obviously a bit more cohesive, but like this event, at least that I was at and sort of like helped to host, quote unquote, was like something where it was like people who were like, it wasn't like a groups of people showed up. It was like individuals showed up and were like sort of curious and hoping to meet other people who were like-minded. So like in a way it sort of is a, to me, and like I'm a perfectly imperfect fan, is like it's a bit of a sort of culture dog whistle of like a certain type of like
mm.
just left of center, like a bit more discerning, quote unquote cool type of person. And then because of that, like I would assume the fake mink of it all, and like, you know, the TikTok DJs and all these things are a part of that culture, even if that culture is yet to be defined and doesn't have a sort of like clear expression yet. Because like it is sort of born of
Yeah.
like exactly to what you were saying, Sarah, is like it is born out of the internet. Like the perfectly imperfect culture is something that is like geographically specific, yes, but it's more like theoretically like vibe based online specific that is now
Mm.
manifesting in real life. And I don't think we know exactly what that is yet, which is exciting, but also like very funny
Yeah, a little
things like that.
perplexing.
Right.
Yeah, Kristen, Sarah, thoughts thereabouts? Oh, come on, one of you say something.
No, I mean, I feel like that's also like the age old, everyone's trying to find like the community that they belong to. And
That's
like
true.
finding, especially like, I also, yeah, it's trends are so like to your point on the outfits, like trends are so fleeting that it's because around here, everyone's wearing all the Gen Z are wearing like baggy jeans and a crop top type of vibe. So it's nice to know that like people are actually out there that have their own unique personal style and point of view. And it's like maybe like that's kind of where they can come together and express that. But tying it back to Fashion Week, that's one of my favorite things about Fashion Week is there's always I feel like it's always been a who can wear the coolest, weirdest outfit kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And before it was to get on like fashion blogs and to get in like on Vogue Street Style or things like that. But now people are kind of just the internet's everywhere, so that doesn't even matter. But
Virality, right? It's like the absurdity of it all. And like absurdity is virality in some ways. So
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
I'm not an attention hungry person most of so I'm like the concept is disarming for me. I'm like I'm the one that would be like in a plain white tee like in the corner drinking my like ginger ale. So
That was it. I wore I wore as minimal an outfit as possible so that I would not stand out as the 50-year-old in the room.
and in doing so probably smell.
Well, hey, and you know what? Look, that's not necessarily bad. Well, I was gonna say really quickly is that
I
like
ended up on the
it,
Cobra Snake, so there you go.
well, I was gonna say like that, like you're being there and like to the white shirt that you wore, Ben, and that you wear, Sarah, is like that makes you, I think, in a lot of ways even more at home at a place like the Perfectly Imperfect event because like it is to all the ideas of like, you know, what is Fashion Week now? Not necessarily what's the point, but like what is it attracting and what is it? Like it that Perfectly Imperfect space is like the same thing happened here and it was not a part of Fashion Week, it was just a part of the Perfectly Imperfect thing. Is it sort of like that attracts a sort of like culturally, or maybe it's not culturally, but just like vibe, this is going to sound ridiculous, like vibe based homelessness, in the sense like you don't have a larger
Okay.
community or home, or
I
like,
think
you know, an
we've
aesthetic.
this
Like
is
it
another hip
seems like
replacement
that
coin term,
is,
vibe-based homelessness.
yeah, it's like, but that like Perfectly Imperfect is a place to sort of like gather them, because like a good example, and like there was this one really nice guy who came, who now like has become like a friend. I've seen him twice because of Perfectly Imperfect, and he's just like a really nice young like straight guy, and like he's like not a shithead, and like it seems like, and I'm projecting in a way, it's like he hasn't been able to find the good cool people because like the straight guy world is so gross, and like his turning to this, and like he was sort of looking for a space to be a young man with people who are like-minded, where he didn't have to sort of like do all this fucking pressure of the things that has sort of dominated the news in the past week. And so like that is sort of like a really good manifestation of the vibe-based homelessness, quote unquote, all the way to like fake mink, all the way to like, you know, the chunk in the corner. Like they're all in the same room in a loving way. And like it
Could
could
one
only
exist
exist now.
without the other? That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Like, could one exist without the other? I feel like they
No.
are, in some ways, so polar opposites for that reason, and like that they wouldn't exist without each other. It's the beautiful part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so in any case, I was confuzzled by it across a whole series of different vectors, but the place that it really ties in, I think that idea of the music, the fashion, the young people, the virality and inherent like broadcastability of it is with the VMAs, which happened, I don't know, a week ago now at this point, but of which, or is it a week? It's not. Is it a
A
week?
week
I
ago.
guess
Yeah.
It
it's a week.
was not this
Yeah.
Ago
past Sunday, but
Sunday.
the Sunday before. Yeah, yeah.
The so the sort of ripples in the cultural pond, or whatever have started to spread out sufficiently. Um, I didn't watch it. I don't have a point of view, but I'm interested to know what you all took away because I'm as a former participant in that culture, it's still resonant to me in some way.
Whew.
Yeah. I mean, same. I've always been a big fan of the VMAs. I went when I lived in New York City. It was just like such a fun, cool place. And sometimes I'm just not in it with it, but I felt especially this year like no one really cared. And even at my job, we are looking out for viral moments and things that are happening. And the buzz just wasn't really there. And Vogue even had a podcast about like the VMAs are happening. Does anyone even care anymore? And I don't know why this specific year. And again, it could just be like kind of where I was at. But then I saw that podcast and I was like, okay, maybe it's not just me. Like maybe it's just because Taylor Swift isn't involved, so I don't care. But I genuinely just think so much is online and people are just ready to go the next morning to see what happened the night before, but not as many people are watching it live because it all is online and on social media, and you can just pick out the highlights the next day without all the commercials and all the boring things you don't care about.
I agree completely, and I think like the MTV, I used to work at MTV, and I was telling them at the time, and this was like literally almost 20 years ago, but I was telling them at the time, it was like, you guys, like, you got to like adapt to these things, blah, blah, blah. And they just were like not into it. And this is like sort of the echo effect of like being late to things, because like what, to that point, Kristin, like exactly the thing that was happening was like, there wasn't any buzz. Nobody cared. And like, despite Hollywood Reporter being like, it's the biggest numbers ever, like that's not true. It's the biggest numbers ever because the VMAs were broadcast on CBS, not on MTV. Of course it got the most views ever because it wasn't on MTV. It was also on Paramount Plus, whatever. So that's like a whole like misdirect. But all that to say is that like maybe the millennials and above are probably watching it, not necessarily the young people, because the young people, you have someone like Lola Young of TikTok fame. You have someone like Tate McRae, who is like not necessarily of TikTok fame, reality show fame, but like is sort of speaking to that sort of younger TikTok digital person who then is sort of like going to the non-digital thing. Like, I'm not going to follow you to a cable subscription. No. And like, so that is sort of it. It's like them sort of, it's MTV sort of trying to perform TikTok and doing a poor job at it. And like, yes, when Taylor like last year shows up or whatever, like there is more buzz, but like this year, like Gaga was like partially there kind of, and Ariana Grande was kind of there as well. And like they didn't do enough to move the needle because they were just like promoting Wicked or Wednesday, which isn't interesting. And then like the real breakout to me was like, Sabrina Carpenter, who like actually did something. Like she made a statement, she had an incredible performance, and like it broke beyond like the fake internet that is TV back to the internet, versus like the Lola Young and the Tate McRae's, which didn't translate because like it wasn't the right place for it. Was too try hard in a way, and like it showed how broken that system is.
Do we need Kristin? Do we need? I guess I mean, do we need the Hannah Einbinder at the Emmys, Go Birds, Fuck Ice, Free Palestine kind of mic drop moment in order for these things to matter? Or does the fact that the VMAs doesn't exist in its previous paradigm allow it to reinvent itself in some kind of interesting fashion?
I want to say it can reinvent itself and be like more in line with how consumers or, watchers of this like consume it, right? But I don't know. I struggle with the relevance of it all. Like, do people care? Do people actually care? I'm struggling with caring myself at the moment. So if I'm having those feelings, I can imagine
Incredible.
other people are too, right? Like life is overwhelming. There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so let me pose something else to you then. This is a quick digression. I just had a meeting with some guys from Miami who are very, very plugged into the Miami scene. And we were talking about Miami and the sort of trend forecast. And they were like, yeah, Miami used to be like 5 years behind and also kind of 5 years ahead in a weird way. And this is sort of the duality and the paradox of Miami. But I was telling them that on Saturday night, the lead up to Fake Mink, the DJ, I don't know who the DJ was exactly, but the DJ played 2 LMFAO songs back to back. played Party Rock and then played Sexy and I Know It back to back. And I was
No.
just my mind was a little bit blown because A, the kids in the club, because those are such stupid songs, and the kids in the club were freaking out. And I took a picture of it, or I took a video of it, and I sent it to somebody who was at Charlie XCX's wedding over the weekend, who said to me, "Oh yeah, it was full on Black Eyed Peas the
Wow.
whole time over there." So to your point about not caring, do we have to resort to like utter silliness or like stark political statements in order to get people to re-engage?
Yeah, I mean, I heard a lot more about the Emmys because of Hannah Einbinder, who I'm obsessed with. We love Hacks. It's like
Hmm.
so, and like back in the day, we had like the Lady Gaga and the meat costume at the VMAs, and a lot more exciting stuff. But I also feel like our music from back in the 2000s it's for whatever reason still so popular out like at the clubs and at different places. And actually, that I wonder if it's just because I actually don't know why, but I do hear a lot of our old hits played a lot when not that I like go out too often, but they are played and it's kind of curious. Don't know why.
I have a theory because I
Tell
Please.
me.
I too have been out and I've heard an LMFAO song and I was like, what? That number one. And number two,
And
my
Kid
theory
Cudi.
goes into like a few years ago I was at a work party with a bunch of Gen Z people and like I'm pretty sure, and like they might be listening, in which case correct me if I'm wrong, but like there was, I believe it was Fergalicious played, and like everybody who was like Gen Z got up and like it was a karaoke thing and they all performed it together. It was like 15 people performing it, and like me and the other like millennials and Gen X people were like, wow, like I can't believe this has such a relevance. And then I asked somebody afterwards, like, why do you all like love that song? And they were like, that was a song when I was like in the 6th grade, like we all know all the words because like it was in our middle school. To that
Mm,
point is like the LMFAO of it all is like that is nostalgic and middle school for a lot of Gen Z. So like it makes sense that it recurs, and like the Britney
mhm.
Spears of it all is like sort of brought into that as well, which is like a really interesting thing that it's like this nostalgia gap closing, because like that wasn't that long ago, but like, and I don't remember being in my 20s like listening to NSYNC at a party. Like we were listening to, and like this is very chunk, but like we were listening to like Journey and like that sort of like 80s yacht rock, like ironic Hall and Oates, whatever, not
That's
like what
true.
we were listening to. So like that is really interesting that like the aughts and the 2010s, like that immediate youth is nostalgia, not.
Well, that's well, the thing that you said that it just, and I want to hear everybody's thought on this, but it's like the observation that was made about Black Eyed Peas was it's not ironic. Is that it is being there's no irony involved. It's literally just like, oh yeah, got a feeling, best song of all time. Which, to be clear, is not my opinion on the matter, but is was a
Thank God.
direct quote from a conversation I had recently.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I don't know. I just find the whole thing wild and confusing.
Well, yeah, I think that that's exactly it. Is like I think to Sarah's point about like seeking comfort and like whatever, or not comfort, but like the world is a lot, is that like that also
Hmm.
means in a lot of spaces irony is gone. So like you do turn to like your comfort song from the 8th grade, but like it, there's something I'm struggling to connect it right now, but like there is something to that as it relates to the VMAs and the Emmys, in that like the VMAs, MTV, like there is no nostalgia for that. There is none of that sort of like cultural experience that like came with the middle schoolness that we're talking about. But like, and so it can't transcend because like that it's trying to be that nostalgia and be present, but it doesn't work. Versus say the Emmys, which like isn't trying to be any of that and it's being very present. And so then it's able to break out of the TV box, which is where it likes to live, and then go on the internet and actually start something. So like that is really interesting, is that like, the VMAs is trying to exist in the past past and present and future, I guess, not necessarily the future, but more past and present, versus the Emmys, which is very old, but is somehow occupying the present and the future, which is fascinating because like I would never have guessed that would have been the case, that the Emmys have a stronger sort of like identity and therefore is able to break through in a way that like there might even be a nostalgia for that for everybody because you
Right.
know the Emmys and you know what that is, even if you didn't watch it versus the VMAs.
Right. Well, these moments of cultural universality, even though nobody at the Emmys thanked Sal Saperstein, which seemed like a missed opportunity to me.
Next
No
time.
studio fans on the call here, guys? No? Thank you.
Got
Podcast series producer Campbell just chimed in there with reference off mic, guys. Well, okay. Well, so the interesting thing about all of this, right? The memeability of Hannah Einbinder, the lack of memeability or the lack of successful memeability around the VMAs, Sal Saperstein, fake mink and perfectly imperfect, etc., is the notion of these things into a certain degree as like little treats. And Kristen, you sent a thought around little treats, dopamine culture, um, populating your feed recently. Talk about that a little bit. Where are we at with that universe?
Yeah. Sarah, do you want to talk on that? Or-
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So obviously I'm
As the purveyor of little treats, little lotiony, like
Exactly.
skincare treats.
constantly on the store floor looking up what people are picking up, what people are buying. I'm even in Shopify, like looking through people's orders. I'm the most curious person ever. I always have to know what, is grabbing people's attention. And
Mm.
you would be surprised by like, yes, the amount of like quote unquote little luxuries, the amount of people prepping for holiday now because spending has become just like so insane. And if they can prep early, they can maybe save more. So yeah, I think there's definitely this like greater interest in little luxuries, especially for prestige luxury brands, because otherwise, times are looking tough for
Is
consumers.
is this like as manifested by the Louis Vuitton lipstick, for instance, that was announced 2 weeks ago, or
Sure, I
something
mean,
else?
we've seen luxury fashion brands enter the beauty space for, years now because it's like, okay, not everyone can buy like $1,000 to $5,000 handbag, but you can maybe buy yourself a $50 lipstick. That is the
Mm-hmm.
lipstick index coined by, the Lauders. So I think that still exists. I think it's evolving. I think in one of our most recent newsletters, we talked about how like the lipstick index is it's there, but I think the lipstick item, it's gonna change a bit. Maybe it's a lip gloss
Well, I
or
was gonna say like
with a
this
charm
this
on it.
yes. Well, I was gonna say this has me thinking about like I do agree that I mean obviously everybody knows everywhere we feel it here is that like nobody has money and it's that pinch is very real. And to the point of like the ridiculously overpriced Louis Vuitton lipstick and like sort of luxury doing beauty is like one thing that has trended for the past few years, which is exactly like a home for the little treats, are like the like the Dior advent calendar, which is like this is ridiculous,
Mhm.
this is like absurd. So like I'm curious, do we think that economy of like the really like nice quote unquote expensive advent calendars is going to collapse because no one can afford it? And or are people going to start buying those and just use them as like, I now have 25 gifts to give away versus like,
Little
I
treat
keep these
dispensers.
as, yeah, like instead, like you use it as like, that's the gift I give to the whole family is like, we all get to open up one of these and get like a Dior like lipstick or
Mystery.
whatever versus like, it's
Mystery.
all for me. Like, I think that that's like, if we're cutting corners and thinking that way, like that seems like a natural way that that could go. And I'm curious what everybody thinks.
It
Yeah.
makes a ton of sense. I know if I were to get 25 items around the holiday season, it's the season of giving, I would 100% give them to my friends and family as well.
Yeah.
Fair.
I'm reminded of the the little Supreme gumball dispenser collectible thing. I don't know if you saw that, but they part of their new season of collaborations is like literally a gumball machine
Mm.
type situation where put in a quarter or whatever and you get out a little thing in plastic that has a Supreme branded item in it. Um, didn't make a lot of sense to me at the time, but now through the lens of that advent calendar, I kind of and the idea of dope, it makes sense. I worry about the
Dopa.
whole idea of, though I worry, well, no, that's a term I was just about to say, like ripped directly from conversations I've had with VCs. Like, how do you get on that? How do you get into the dopamine loop? How do you hook people with get the dopa hits, which
Artificial,
is
like,
Yeah,
Labubus,
disgusting.
anyone?
right.
Yeah, exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
you gotta play
Although,
with
did
the
you see
supply
that?
and demand. Like it's all
I
a mental game, right? Like they could have created more Supreme.
Yeah, yeah.
They could have made a bunch. But that Supreme has like coined that like launch strategy, which is like we're gonna make no more than 50, 100. And it's like if you can get them, you're lucky. And then that just drives up the resale values and the whole, we saw the
Yeah.
whole like shoe industry, I feel like change because of that, like 10 years ago. So I don't know. I think there's definitely something still to it all this time later.
100%. It does, though. And to Kristen, your point, it bring like the Labubu situation is interesting because I don't know if you saw, but Pop Mart's stock took a huge hit over the last couple of days because there is a feeling like it has jumped the shark, so to speak. Um, at what point do we call it? Like, at what point is Labubu Cabbage Patch Kids and sort of disappears into the nostalgic annals of history, or is it a sustainable business? Does anybody have any sense of that?
I mean, all we
I
have
mean,
to do is
someone
look
must,
at
but
what
on the
happened
call.
with Beanie Babies, Furbies. I mean, we've seen this before. Like I don't know if Labubus will be hanging on our bags in 10 years, but they might be in someone's like Tupperware bin in their basement.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
I mean, I think it's definitely going to be it's unfortunately for them a definitive thing of the year. I think it will continue, obviously, in the places where it originated, like in China, like where it has always been popular, not always, but like for a few years. But like where it gets interesting is like there's a whole economy of this that predated the sort of like bag charm thing. Like Coach was doing it, and whoever was doing it last year, which then evolved into the Labubu, and like there still was, I think it was at CES earlier this year, this like really I feel like we all saw this, like this really incredible like small robot, furry robot that you put on your bag and like it looks around and like it's adorable, and like I would get that, and like that is not even out yet. So like this is like to the point of little treat culture, like it seems like a trend within the trend, the Labubu, in that the like the purse charm and the keychain is going to continue, but like the Labubu is going to get left behind.
Is it like Rizbot for your bag? Does
No,
it talk to you?
it's much
And
cuter than Rizbot. It's actually furry. It looks like a small yeti, and it has these adorable little eyes, and it like looks over. It's very like shy. It pretends to look away. Like it's so cute.
oh my God. All right. Well, that reminds me, by the way, in the city here in New York, I have recently seen new out of home ads in the subway for Friend, which is the
Oh,
I saw
locket
them this
thing that
morning.
you wear. And I was just, when I saw them last week, Sarah, and I was just like, wait, is that an old poster from when that thing came out and like conspicuously failed?
yes.
Yeah,
Apparently not.
I
Apparently
think
it's
they're
back.
brand new. Yeah, they're brand new. They're coming for the industry.
But it like it feel like it came and went and bombed already before the item could actually come out, and like now that the item is out, is like that's so what like 2020, like winter 2024, when there was like all the AI gadgets like the rabbit and the pin, and like they all failed, and like I don't know. That's
Well, I
wild
mean,
that they're still doing it.
we've talked about it earlier how the trend cycle shortens, right? Like maybe the trend now, maybe we're nostalgic for Q4 2024, the simpler times of Q4 2024.
So much simpler.
Goldfish brains.
I mean, we'll have Brad Summer again in the winter this year.
I mean, we're gonna have LMFAO winter first.
No,
Oh man,
speaking of that, we never had like a summer. Like there was nothing. There was no hit this summer. There was,
I think they tried to make it a sardine summer in like fashion, but I don't know. It didn't land for me
really?
personally.
yeah, there's just no,
Like
this summer wasn't as fun. There just
shirts
wasn't.
and like it was like sardine stuff. It's just so
Huh.
silly.
There was a
Yeah,
lot of things that tried to
I was
become a thing.
I was excluded from Sardine Summer. I'm angry now. I like sardines. I
I
was
saw
mad.
sardine things, but I didn't actually clock that that was like, well, for a
I
good
wish I
example, it's like,
hadn't. Like I wish I hadn't clocked that. But no, I think about this a lot. I think about these TikTok based groups, right? Like Sardine Summer, Brat Summer, like And it's at the end of the day really just people looking for a sense of collectiveness, a community, someone who has
Absolutely.
interests or beliefs that are similar to theirs. And maybe we didn't see a strong like summer trend other than sardine, but maybe that's good in some way. Maybe people are finding that collectiveness and bonding in real life versus in social media trends. So
I agree. There is hope of that. Whether or not
Well,
it's
just
true, I think it's to be seen. But I think
yeah.
that is like, because you had two different forces happening this summer. It was like trying to make everything happen, like Labubu, Dubai chocolate, matcha, Trader Joe tote bag, like all these disassociated things that were like, this is just a product that like then like when combined together, you get the performative mail, all that sort of shit that like drove people crazy. But then the other side, it's like, which I don't think really happened, was the people who are like, that's too much. I want online community. I want just like low key whatever. But I think like they go hand in hand. It's that like I think that feeling of like I want real life community is in response to like I don't want just products defining my life. And I think that's probably going to dictate a lot of things. But again, it goes into that whole like, if we think about like even the friend thing is like all these sort of product based things, and even a lot of social media itself, given recent events, like are going to become not necessarily uncool, but like become a place you don't want to be seen and are talking about because they become so gross, like intellectually gross. They're not cool anymore. None of these things are cool. So like that then is going to
Yeah.
mean like, okay, we're just going to hang out and like outside of a store and or like wherever. Like it's
maybe
yeah,
mall homes will be in again.
exactly. But not
I
in
mean,
not in the shops.
No, just in the food court.
But I will
just
say,
in the food court.
because we're talking about product-based trends, the brat summer is really like a music-based trend, which
True.
I love, and which I'm sad that there wasn't something for people
Yeah.
to collectively come together for that this summer. But
They're
Taylor
yeah.
Swift's album is coming out soon, so we'll all be collectively reunited in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that it's funny. I mean,
2 weeks.
to circle back around to where we started, like going to this show on Saturday night and being so totally mystified by this headline artist that everybody was, very excited for, made me wonder, maybe did the collective consciousness moment happen just outside of my field of vision, right? It's not dissimilar to the whole, um Groyper conversation around Charlie Kirk's assassination, which is like, oh yeah, there's this weird subculture that is to the right of the rightmost people, and of course you've never encountered it because you just don't have anything to do with it, but it's actually aggregating a huge population of people, massive awareness, and galvanizing, albeit nihilistic action. Like maybe there was a song of the summer or a theme of the summer, and we just
Demon
missed it.
Hunter. Sorry, that was just came to
Demon
my
Okay,
mind.
Hunter.
all right. That's a good point. That's a good point. And the big, I don't know what the name of was it
Huh.
Demon Slayer, the big film the anime film that came out over the weekend that did 70 million this first. Yeah, so maybe that's it, right? It was an anime summer, just not for me because I don't know about that stuff.
I mean, yeah, that's a great point. It's like the K-pop Demon Hunter, etc. world was like that probably was it. Unfortunately, anybody over 20 and or not in the K-pop space wasn't experiencing it because like that was frozen for a new generation, and it's like it says a lot that like that was unfortunately the breakout, and everybody online didn't want it to be and wasn't a part of it. But like the numbers showed how well that all that did, and like that really was a huge success. But like I
Well,
mean,
let me ask
yeah,
you guys a question. Has anybody did you all watch K-pop Demon Hunters?
no. The
I
music videos,
watched
yes.
most of it. And then I actually just rewatched some of it last night with my nephews. So
Because
There you
the
go.
reason
we're
I ask is
5
because
and
I, I
young.
I want an expert opinion on whether I need to watch it for the sake of cultural literacy in
No,
the
no,
same way
no.
as I needed to go to the Fake Mink show, or whether I can. No?
No, you can just watch the clips of the music video. Like it's for kids.
Okay.
Like
It's
it's a
about the
kids
music.
thing. Yeah,
Fair
And I
enough.
the
feel
music
like
is catchy.
this right here, Kyle, what you're saying, no, just watch it online. This is exactly why.
You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
right.
The clipsterati wins again, right?
Catch it on TikTok. Yeah,
Well,
you'll
it's
get
so
like a
okay.
great opinion on it, like funny clips, and you won't have to like go through like the whole, like commercials and all like
Wait, speaking of clips, sorry, I'm going to just introduce something, another digression. I just learned this morning that the Clips and Pharrell and somebody else are playing at the Vatican or just played at the
What?
Vatican.
What? Wait, Google's
Is
this.
that fake?
Yeah, so yeah, if we get a fact check on that, because it seemed very strange to me. But yes, this was uh, courtesy of How Long Gone this morning. The Clips was playing
Huh.
at the Vatican.
Wow.
Are they
Yeah,
from
no.
Chicago?
Thousands attended on Saturday night. Grace for the World concert?
Okay. Okay.
It's
Well,
a
the
thing.
world needs grace. There's no doubt about that. And,
That
what
hey,
better way to
that's
show
true.
grace than to invite the legacy drug dealers into the Vatican?
Wow.
Yeah.
Carol G,
America.
John Legend, Jennifer Hudson.
Okay. That is wild.
Wow, that would have been really cool to see.
Yeah, at the
they
Yeah,
didn't
Vatican?
really do much
it's
like
that. Yeah.
pre-marketing though. I didn't know it was happening.
No idea. Wait, wow, that's a good, interesting.
Yeah, exactly. The Pope's got to get his marketing budget up.
He's a
He's not.
Chicago
He's
boy.
I saw something about the Pope in that article I was reading. So yeah.
Was he there? Was he like dancing?
Yeah, I think so. He's doing it for PR for sure.
You would have think he would have invited some Chicago artists at the very least. Like why
That's
was Twista
yeah.
not on the bill? I mean, come on, guys. Where's
Huh.
Common?
He,
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a
yeah.
while.
Yeah. In time. It was sort of like testing out the waters of such a show.
Exactly.
Well, all right. So Kyle, we're approaching, the latter part of the show here, and we haven't talked about millennials at all. I'm a little concerned. What happened? Did the millennials just
Um,
take the week off?
no, they did not. I mean, I think technically we all are millennials except for you, Ben, but like I mean I think there were a few things. The one thing which is also not a millennial thing, but I think it does relate to millennial culture that I did want to talk about because I feel like people moved on really fast from it was the death of Batty Winkle. So she, for the unfamiliar, and like Ben, maybe you know, maybe you don't, is like she was like a 98-year-old, 99-year-old quote unquote creator who like probably broke 10 years ago, where like her probably millennial great grandchild, whatever, sort of like got her online and like started dressing her like a hype beast or whatever. And like she became a huge figure. And like she has been posting for years. And then I've always thought like I was like, when is she gonna die? Like not in a bad way, but I was like, that's the elephant in the room. Like this is a very, very old person. She's not 75, she's like 95. So I was like, this is gonna happen. So like I would check in every so often, and like I literally the day that she died or the day before she died, I was on her page. So I was like, oh, she's alive, thank God. I'm gonna reference her in this piece. But then by the time the piece came out, she had died, so I had to edit it. Which was like a random happenstance. But like all that being said is that like Batty Winkle was a huge sort of like quote unquote geriatric creator who was playing a millennial game that like she paved the way for a lot of quote unquote like beyond age creators
Sure.
that I think wouldn't have happened without that sort of like millennial bridge building, which I think is huge. And I'm curious to get, Kristin and Sarah, your thoughts on it, because I feel like people moved on way too fast from that.
Yeah. Where were you when Batty Winkle passed?
I was literally here. Like my friends texted me in a group chat. They were like, Batty Winkle died. Everybody was like, oh my God. So anyway.
Taylor Swift got married or is getting married. Batty Winkle passed away. Kristen, it looked like you remembered something.
No. I was just gonna say it's been a crazy eclipse season, so of course that happened all
Yes.
this time. But no, I
Oh,
don't.
okay. Right. Well, now with the new horoscopes that we all have, right?
Oh
Like
I
yeah.
don't
between the
believe it.
eclipse and the new
I heard
I
that was
don't
fake news. I think that's fake news.
The
I
thing
don't
about
subscribe to that.
astrology is there are so many different beliefs, and none of it is really super accurate, anyways. Like there's Vedic
Right.
astrology, which I'm a Leo in and not a Cancer, and like honestly, at the end of the day, it's really hard to actually know. And so I don't know. I don't have words on that. Truthfully, I'm not an astrologist, so
Okay, well, I'm pleased to hear we're not going down that rabbit hole.
No.
It's too much.
Too
All right,
much.
well, all right, R.I.P. Batty Winkle. Then I'm sorry to hear about your passing. Before I even became familiar with who you are,
I
um,
We
can't believe you don't know
sorry,
who she
I wasn't
is.
Sarah,
paying attention. I
did you have
wasn't paying
words on
that
Batty?
attention that week at Millennial Culture Briefing.
Wait, what did you say, Kristen?
I said, Sarah, did you have thoughts on Batty? I know
I
we
did. I love her. No, but she would, she would make appearances at New York Fashion Week stuff. She was just like such a great energy. And, we are in a society where we're constantly being like put in boxes. And, I think she really just like defied all of that and showed that like you can be dressed, like wear whoever you want. And age does not define that. So yeah.
thanks,
And can
Batty.
have a and can have a career. Like
Yeah.
she made probably not bad money like in her like final decade of life and probably lived pretty comfortably as a result, which is like look, she wasn't like a Kardashian or whoever, but like
She had a
she
lot
had
of
good
brand
brand
deals.
deals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure she
I
was doing
mean,
fine.
this is
Yeah.
the way we all want to live out our 90s now, right? Like with brand deals.
Online.
Yes.
We're
I
at
There
Lisa
mean,
Frank.
surrounded by the the
Great.
children, great grandchildren that love us and their management and brand deals. Oh boy,
Oh,
that is
what a
something
time.
else. That is something else. Well, everybody, this has been a really fun conversation. Kristen, Sarah, where do we find you guys when you're not here parsing the culture with us on hip replacement?
You can find us on our Substack, Best Trends Forever. And yeah, I would say just check that out. And we have our
All right.
individual accounts on there, but Best Trends Forever.
Best Trends Forever is the newsletter. And well, I don't know what else to say other than that. This has been really fun. I'm really pleased to get you back on. We have to make this like a recurring feature every,
Quarterly.
every number of episodes. We'll check in and see what the right, exactly, which millennial icon has passed away. I mean, sorry, I don't mean to make that
God.
sound macabre. It's just,
LMFAO? Maybe they'll be next? No, I'm kidding.
oh, no. It's their year, man. It's their year.
God.
All right, well, everybody, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for tuning in. This is Hip Replacement. We do this record every Monday, publish every Tuesday. So look for us next week for more parsing of the generational differences and attitudes between generations X, Y, and Z. Go check out Best Friends Forever. Go check out Kyle's newsletter, The Trend Report. My newsletter is called Sick. And we're looking forward to seeing you again next week. All right, ciao.
Thanks, y'all.